This is your host Tom, and welcome to 734 Games. And today we are playing Omno. Now this is another indie game, and this is the channel for your indie games, 734 Games. We play all indies here most of the time, or all the time, and some obscure games. And if you enjoy this indie content you see on here, especially if you're on BitTube TV, please like, comment, or subscribe. Or as here, you put the arrow up. It's not really like a like. And if you're on YouTube, smash that like button. Most of my viewers are on BitTube TV, which is a great site. If you've never been to BitTube TV, check that out. Now, this game, Omno, is by Studio Inky Fox and Future Friends Games. And this is basically, in my opinion, what I see here, this is a third-person puzzle platformer game. Now, you start off as you're basically in some alien world where you are running around and you are solving different puzzles to get to different areas, and you're also going to pick up different abilities as this game goes on. And at the end, I'm going to show you one little ability you pick up. And also, in this video, I want to talk about, later on, I'm going to talk about, is indie the new AAA? Which it seems like it is. Now, as for this game, Omno, this game is done on the Unreal 4 engine, and this game is also a day one release on the Xbox Games Pass. So Xbox Games Pass is pretty great. That's the version you're seeing here. Xbox Games Pass on PC. Now, I think this game probably would have looked about the same on my Xbox One X, but I decided to run it on PC. It doesn't take up a lot of space. It's only like 1.5 gigs. A real small game, but it's gotten good user reviews, but it hasn't gotten a lot of love recently. And I think that has a lot to do with the fact that this game came out on approximately the same day as The Ascent. And The Ascent is another really awesome game. I covered it last week, and check that video out. That's a really fun game, really beautiful. But this is also an awesome game. Totally different style of the types of game. But this game is kind of, I think, when that game was such a big hit with a lot of people. Although the PC version of that game, The Ascent, as far as the Xbox Game Pass version, they said that had a few technical glitches. But I mean, everybody loves that game, and it's awesome. This game deserves more love. This game only has 36 reviews on Xbox Game Pass. So, I mean, it's obviously not a lot of people are playing it. And my friends listening, one person is playing it, and that's Colt Eastwood. He's a YouTuber. So not a lot of people are playing this game, and that's unfortunate because this game is a pretty polished game, and it does deserve your time. Now, I also have to tell you that you can get this game on the Epic Games Store. You can get it on Steam, Xbox One, PlayStation 4, and obviously I already said Xbox Games Pass. That's the version you're looking at, and the Nintendo Switch. And this is actually a really cool game for the Nintendo Switch. I think this game fits that console perfectly. Like I said, it's an easy game to run. It looks great. The worlds are beautiful and imaginative. Like the levels, everything about this game, I mean, as far as the visual, is awesome. And when you get different abilities, they're gonna look awesome too. Like I said, wait till the end, and you'll get to see one of his dash ability. That's gonna look really awesome. They did a really good job with the special effects in this game. Although it's funny because they went with a less is more and a very simple aesthetic, but the game is just great. It's beautiful, and you're just gonna love looking at it. Now, Omno has 275 reviews on Steam, so it's more than the 36 it has on Games Pass, but it's all very positive. Now, I have that to me has a lot to do with The Ascent, this game launching the same day as The Ascent, which is unfortunate for this game. But I know you're thinking, okay, why should I pick up this game rather than The Ascent? Well, if you're into third-person puzzle platformers, then you should definitely pick up this game over The Ascent. Also, this game does not have glitches. I mean, it's a single-player third-person puzzle platformer. So you're not going to really... That's a tried-and-true formula for a game, and you don't get usually have a lot of problems with glitches with that style of gameplay. It's generally when games have like an online component, or they're just kind of intricate. Like The Ascent is kind of intricate. It's a cool game. It's an action shooter with a lot going on. This game, there's not as much going on, but it's really beautiful and it's really fun and very fluid. So this is definitely a game, if you're an indie gamer, you don't want to miss this game. And this game was also funded by Epic Games, it got funded by a grant from Epic Games. And that's what's so exciting. I was going to talk about the indies being the new AAA, but that's what's so exciting about the indie environment right now is you have companies that are getting money from Microsoft. They're getting money when Microsoft has their games on Games Pass. They get money for that. They get money, from Epic Games to put their games on the Epic Games Store so they can, launch them first there. I mean, it's an exciting time for indie developers and indie games right now. and it's also a great time for fans. AAAs this year and last year have been kind of disappointing. So it's great to have these indie games come in here to fill the void. And they're almost, in my opinion, they're almost doing more than filling the void, because they're adding an air of originality that you would not get from AAA game developers. And with all that, let's look at the AAA developers this year. I mean, you have Ubisoft with their controversy over harassment in the workplace, and then they want to take Assassin's Creed and turn it into an always online, free-to-play microtransaction DLC crap fest. And then you have Activision Blizzard. And we all know what's going on with Activision Blizzard, and they had harassment for years. They had the Cosby Room, and you know, you have that going on at Activision Blizzard. And I look at Diablo 4. I mean, look at the original trailers for Diablo 4. Of course, they were full motion videos, but especially that assassin video. You look at it and you're like, wow, this game hasn't really changed. I mean, you can just jump up platforms, and it was, you know, like the AAA developers. And of course, there was Cyberpunk last year. And you look at other games that are coming out, Battlefield 5, and a lot of other games out there from these AAA companies with all these huge budgets. And I mean, okay, we got Mass Effect, the Mass Effect trilogy remastered. I mean, that's cool, but that's a remaster, and it's still the Unreal 3 engine. So you're not really getting a lot from these AAA developing, or these AAA teams, these AAA companies. But what's been filling the void this year seems to be indie companies. Like, you look at a game like Diablo 4, why would you even take a chance on Diablo 4? Like, I know the Ascent has some glitches, but I remember the glitches that Diablo 3 has. And if Diablo 4 is anything like that, then I would definitely stick with the Ascent. And also, the gameplay in the Ascent is awesome. And you got games like this game Omno, which is a great game. You know, really beautiful. You know, really like a very immersive game. You have games like that coming out. And of course, I did another game a week before that, before I did the Ascent, called Pumpkin Jack. That was a really awesome platformer. So you have so many games that are coming out, and it seems like games are coming out every week or every month. You got Kena Bridge of Spirits is coming to the Epic Game Store and PlayStation, and I'm pretty sure that's an indie. So you have a ton of really cool indie games that are dropping, you know, just every other week, and it seems like the indies have really stepped in to fill the void. A lot of these big companies, I mean, obviously on the MMO side, when it comes to MMOs, you almost need a AAA apparatus to be able to give a game the kind of management that it needs. So with that sort of thing, obviously now you with World of Warcraft falling off, you have the Final Fantasy kind of filling the void, and that's another AAA game. And then of course Square Enix is Square Enix. They've been pretty consistent, although they did make that piece of crap Avengers, and so that's another AAA piece of garbage that we got to deal with. And I know Sony made a Spider-Man game, but that Spider-Man game was like full price for a 15-hour experience. It was basically a DLC. So I mean, when you're getting raked over the coals by the AAA companies, you got the indies that are really stepping in and giving us value, and that's awesome. And it's awesome that Microsoft, I know Microsoft is usually thought of as the evil empire, and I don't like everything that Microsoft does, and I'm a Linux guy, but they're doing great with games, and I love how they're, you know, putting these indies on Games Pass, and these companies are getting paid for that. So that's awesome. I love what Epic is doing. Epic's engine, the Unreal 4 engine and the Unreal 5 engine, are basically open source engines that anybody could use. So if you were going to jump in and try to make a game, now would be the time to do it. And even back to AAAs, like another game that I was looking forward to was Dark Alliance. And Dark Alliance obviously had all the money behind it, and that game kind of sucked after a while. I mean, there was one character in that game that basically was overpowered. It was the female character with the arrows, and then the game had all these other glitches. So that, I mean, and that was a AAA game. What is wrong with these AAA companies? Why can't they make a good game? And why can't they not treat their employees like crap? I don't understand it. It's like, what's going on here? And in Sony, you got Sony, you know, making their, you know, keeping their unit as scarce as possible and not forcing companies to put it in the stores. And I don't know, it's just like, I don't know what's wrong with these big AAA companies. And with all this, man, I'm just hoping that Halo Infinite doesn't drop the ball. It's crazy. Like, I've used this last, you know, maybe 6 months. I picked up a couple of AAA games, but they're mainly older games like Red Dead Redemption 1 and 2. And of course, I picked up the Mass Effect, the remake of the Mass Effect trilogy. I mean, those are games you don't want to miss. Those are awesome. And I'm definitely going to be playing those games eventually. But now, if you're somebody who's maybe strapped for cash and you have a PC, or maybe you don't want to spend a bunch of money on games, then I would just say Games Pass is really awesome for picking up a lot of these indie games. Also, I mean, Epic Game Store, they're always giving out games for free. Like they gave out, I got a Plague's Tale, and that was awesome. And that was another indie game that's really a good value for your money. And they're coming out with a sequel, and I can't wait to get my hands on that. And I got to actually jump back into Plague's Tale because I did a video about that one, and the first one, and I never got back into it, but I really want to finish that game. That was an awesome game. So, I mean, there's just so much happening in the indie scene right now. The indie scene is so exciting. Definitely go off the beaten path right now, especially if you're somebody who's maybe semi-new to games, and you haven't really, you're not, you know, you hear a lot about the Call of Duties and all these other games, but those games are kind of like, I don't know, those games are basically, I don't think they're really pushing the industry right now. It's like, obviously they do sell a lot of units. I'm sure the next Call of Duty is going to sell a ton of units, even if it's not that good. I mean, Black Ops 4 sold a ton of units, and that game was complete garbage to me. So basically, the way I see it, man, I think this is a great time to support indies and to support companies that support indies. Like, if you're not adverse to Microsoft, support their efforts on Games Pass and get a Games Pass subscription and support them. Get yourself an Epic Game Store account. Even I know a lot of Linux users are like, but they don't have a Linux distro. Although they do have this thing called Heroic. Heroic is awesome, and most of the games work on there. It's a really cool little Epic client. So that's pretty much it for this episode of 734 Games, where we played Omno. This is your host Tom signing off from 734 Games, where gaming is alive.